Yes. All right, hey horror fans! Once again, it is me, the Horror Miser Mani G, welcoming you live for another live stream of the Horror Hangout crew. Before we begin, I want to first send my condolences to Paul Orndorff's family. Mr. Wonderful unfortunately passed away today, so we give our condolences to him. And now let's go on with the show. First of all, from the horror corner, Sean Patrick Urshan. And of course, Jen and Christian from Jen's Reviews from the Grave.
Hi, guys.
And of course, my good friend, the alien predator fanatic, Marty from the Trash Picture Show.
It's all right.
And welcoming our special guest, a good friend of mine. He is Mark, but I can't pronounce his last name, so we just call him Mark. We just call him Mark the Movie Man.
A lot easier that way.
Yeah, it's a lot easier that way.
It's an honor to be here amongst all of you. Thank you for. Okay. You got to lock your door. You let anybody in, so you know.
No one's coming in here. No one's coming. No one's coming in here because by the time I even try to do something, Kelly will come down there and just literally beat the shit. My wife would come down here and just and I just look at her like, well, damn, you should be broken wrong. Before I have a chance to do anything.
Lamont comes down. That's what you get.
Is that why you're sweating, Monty?
It's hot. It's hot. I don't know why it's hot. That's why I'm sweating. Now, obviously, we decided to bring Mark along because he is a film critic, and we had to pick his brain. But before we do that, Mark, introduce yourselves to us in the live stream because a lot of people probably don't know who you are.
Probably not. Special Mark Productions. I'm a big horror fan, but I do cover a lot of different things. We got podcast. I do vinyl reviews, movie reviews. Obviously, a lot of independent, especially independent horror, like micro budget festival stuff. I've covered a couple local horror fests over the last number of years. I've been doing this. We just celebrated our 15th anniversary on YouTube. So I'm an old man of the stream, so to speak. I've been here 15 years. Not a lot of subs to show for it, but a lot of great experiences. So, but yeah, I'm a big horror fan. Happy to be here, and we just do a little bit of everything on the channel. So.
Yeah. Like I said before, we were talking to Mark and I, we sort of met almost 3 years ago on the Creepy Channel Crawl. I have actually been a guest of his or a participant of his on the Spoiler Room podcast. We've basically done a lot of things. One of the great things we like to do is, of course, talk about Star Wars.
It's a popular subject, yeah.
Yeah, it's a popular subject. But before we get distracted for that, let's go on ahead. Mark, couple of good questions came up from our crew, but before we do that, Jen and Christian, do you have anything you would like to pick Mark's brain when it comes, since he's a film critic?
Let me see. How do you feel? Like, I know we're gonna get into this, but how do you feel about what we do and what you do? Because you're a professional and we're just people on YouTube. So
you are very kind. I've never considered myself a professional, but I appreciate it. I just been doing it a long time as my hobby, but no, I love it. I love seeing the variety that's out there. It always blows my mind what people do, what they show that they can do, and that you have this outlet to do it on. That's what always drew me to YouTube way back when 2006, back in the old day. I caught people, they were shooting films with flip phones, no kidding, because you didn't have the fancy smartphones, but they were posting these things on YouTube, and it was just kids laughing and that. But then you run into people who were doing reviews or doing shows or little skits or something, and it's been fun. While my channel hasn't grown a lot, it's been fun to see what people come up with. And, I always say I'm a reviewer more so than a critic, because if the film entertains me, it's already hit that bar of where it's on the good side of me. If I'm not entertained, then I might get more nitpicky because I'm kind of bored, and I'll start picking things out, like The Nun, of how I nearly fell asleep during The Nun, because it's like, how do you take a wonderfully creepy character from Conjuring 2 and make it the most boring movie I had seen in quite some time. And then the ending, you get what we got, and you're just like, all that for that, So, but I love seeing so much variety out there, and especially horror. Horror does not get enough attention, and if it does, it's usually the wrong kind of attention. So it's great to see folks like yourself giving positive reviews and showing a passion for horror and showing that it's more than this, video in its own little section to where that's where all the creepy people go to watch, So, and I love it. So.
Very
roundabout question. Sorry.
No, it was a great answer. Also, can I ask one more? How do you? What is your biggest pet peeve with YouTubers? Like, what's something that you just go, or be honest? No pressure.
No pressure, right?
No.
Okay.
No pressure.
Well, here goes my subs down by quite a bit now. No, I think the pet peeve that I have is there's some people out there who will either review a film that they haven't watched it all the way through, and they'll try to give a full opinion of it. I get it. You couldn't make it 5 minutes into the film. Then you stop there and go, I didn't make 5 minutes into the film. It didn't appeal to me, and stop. Don't try to keep judging the rest of the film from what you've seen in the first 5 or 10 minutes. So that's one of the big peeves out there. And then there's some people out there who, are ranting just because, proven fact, and I've seen it over the years, a rant video will get more hits than a positive video. Yeah. It's just the nature of the beast. People love watching people get triggered, and and there's some YouTubers out there who have made a career of it, and mad props to them. Nothing exactly, but for me, my own pet peeve is I'm like, sometimes I think people are out there either throwing a rant or hating on a film because that's the cool thing and they know it'll get them hits. Whether or not they actually feel that way, it's hard to tell with the videos that they put out. So, I guess those, those would be my two, pet peeves.
Awesome answers. I agree. And I agree with you on that.
All right. Quentin is in the chat. There's Quentin right there.
Yo, Quentin.
Hey, Quentin.
Marty, so if you got anything you would like to say to our film critic for today?
Mark, when you were growing up, what would have been your favorite, it's a very kind of generic question, but what would have been your favorite film critics to watch, like Leonard Maltin or Siskel and Ebert, and did they leave any effect on how you reviewed films and looked at movies?
Actually, it's a great question. I was hoping that would come up in my AMA, but it never did. For me, actually, Joe Bob Briggs is what influenced me more so. I mean, Siskel and Ebert did, obviously, because we didn't have a whole lot. Back then, you didn't have the internet, so you only had your limited options of either your local newspaper or Siskel and Ebert, or occasionally Maltin later on. But for me, I ran across, I was young. I shouldn't have probably been reading it, but I was reading a National Lampoon of one of my dads. And there was a whole article on Joe Bob Briggs and how he reviewed things and what films he reviewed. And it turned out he was reviewing a lot of films that I shouldn't have been watching at that age, but I was. The horror, the B films that my dad and I used to sit and watch all the time. And I didn't think there was someone out there who could, those films actually had someone to review it and review it respectfully. You know, he didn't do it out of jest, you know, he wasn't just ribbing on them. He gave positive and negative, and you know, his rating system of 3 breaths, a gore, a decapitation, and you know, the way he went about it too. And so that kind of sparked me going, wow, those films can be reviewed too. But I was young at the time and didn't have an outlet till way later on. When I was in high school senior year, I was actually writing reviews for a paper, and then I got into college, and then then YouTube came along. So but Joe Bob Briggs was actually my inspiration.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, obviously, Sean had the most questions.
I'm a little on the hot seat here. I wasn't quite expecting this, but
yeah, because when I asked, could you come on, and I told you that while he's a film critic, I said, oh wow, we got to ask all these guys all these questions. and the fact that you love horror, because about horror, I think that's what we enjoy. Not that we just love horror, we just love movies in general. And I think that's one of the things we get along so well, because we not only do we talk about horror films, we did a live stream on the Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker, yep.
And Ashley, Mark, and I, we actually talked about the Exorcist reboot. We talked about that. We recently talked about the last 3 horror films that came out. When we did a live stream about that. So it's not just horror that we enjoy. But Sean said he would like your thoughts on slasher films, and why the negative reviews? Why do most popular critics hate slasher films?
I guess I can't say it because I usually like slasher films, even though they're formulaic. And I think that's part of it, is that critics, when they're watching it, they just see the formula and with the critical eye, whereas a horror fan might enjoy it because there's variety. They change it up a little. Yeah, it's the basic formula, but then you notice the slight difference, and that makes you kind of appreciate, they tried to do something different. And I think the hate of it is, for them, just like with zombie films, there are a lot of formulaic, by the numbers films that I think they, as critics, feel they need to rip on. And even though the slasher fans enjoy them, even if we know kind of what to expect, because there is some variety in there, but I think it's just a bad rap, because slasher films, horror films in general, are very easy to produce for studios. They're very cheap to produce. It helps them get to the blockbuster. So I think that affects it too, because you might not have the high production value, and critics are just being critics. And I think it's easy for them to hate on it, because it's easier for them to pick out the stuff they don't like than try to come up with the stuff they do like, because either they don't watch them enough, or they're not fans, and they're just reviewing it because it's a movie that's out and they feel like they have to. It's kind of like, I got to do this one. Okay. And they watch it and they go, yep, it's another slasher. Never mind. The rest of us go, did you see that? He actually put his head on a pike. And then, so, he tied his intestine to a bicycle wheel and then he pedaled the bicycle. Come on. That's awesome.
All right. Now that we picked Mark's brain, let's get on to what I know pretty Sean would love to talk about, and that is the Halloween Kills trailer. Okay. Mark, since you're our special guest, what are your thoughts on the Halloween Kills trailer?
Oh, it was a great movie. It was nice to see. I was happy to see the film. I mean, it's a great short film. I think it might make a feature, but you don't really have to, because I think you've got the beginning, middle, and end right there. I don't like Jason Blum's philosophy of you have to show as much of the film as possible in order to compete with streaming.
Yeah.
I think that's wrong for your horror fans. Maybe if you feel like that for other fans, but let's face it, you show Mike Myers, all you had to do, and I was talking to my son about it, who just recently in the last 3 years really developed a love for horror films, which brought a tear to my eye. I was like, we see the big stand-up of Halloween, the first one. He goes, hey, could you take me to that? I'm like, oh, I'm so proud. But, you could have easily just showed Mike Myers come out of the burning building and Halloween Kills. That's all you needed. You didn't really need, I just wish they would have, I wish they would have held back on showing the kills of him coming out of the house and that, because it's like, okay, well, there goes that.
What do you think about the Halloween Kills trailer, Marnie?
Again, Mark's right in the money. They showed way too fucking much. I mean, like, that would have been a cool set piece scene alone of Michael murdering the shit at the entire Haddonfield fire department. I was like, oh man, like, does he cut one guy in half with an angle grinder or a console? It's like, that's fucking awesome. Why are you showing it to me in the trailer? And the whole Laurie Strode being like you could go into the movie, or you could have gone into the movie thinking that, like, oh shit, Laurie Strode, she's mortally wounded, she mightn't survive. But no, you got Jamie Lee Curtis hitting herself in the hole with adrenaline. I was like, okay, she's grand. Like, it's just, like, again, as Mark said, it's basically a short movie. I think less is more, and they really screwed the pooch with that trailer.
Jen, what do you thought about Halloween Kills?
Well, I'm gonna have to be the voice of dissent for it because we've been waiting for 2 damn years for this movie to come out, and here I was just jacking off, going, "Yes! Oh my God, Sparky, look there!" Well, he wouldn't let me tell him, but I was like, "Oh my God, look! He's gonna kill the fire department. That's so cool! Oh my God, Anthony Michael Hall's in this, and he's got a bat with razor wire, with your barbed wire around the bat, and it just looks cool."
No, it's not Lucille.
It's not Lucille, yeah.
It's not Lucille. It's just the baseball bat, Jen.
I thought I saw barbed wire, but in my mind I did, and it just looked so cool. And I know some people said, and I get why you guys think it might be too much, but for me it was just whetting my appetite. We've been waiting so long, and I still think there's a lot more in the movie that we haven't seen. So I'm actually like, yeah, this was a good trailer. And then even though I'm not the biggest 3 fan, I did really like the nods to part 3 with the mask and the kids. So
that was cool.
Kristen. I can't wait.
Hi. Hi, I'm resident Halloween fan here, as everyone knows. I didn't watch the trailer because I don't care about this movie, as I've said many times. I'm so tired. Apparently, I made a smart decision by not watching it. I guess I get some surprises when we watch it in the theater, but yeah, I didn't watch it, so I guess I don't have any input other than I'm sure it's going to be an okay movie that people are overhyping too much.
I'm proud of you, Christian. I'm so proud of you.
All right.
I could see that in a way.
Since
Maybe it's better that
you are the official Halloween fan of the crew.
Yep.
What do you think about the Halloween Kills trailer?
Me?
He's speechless.
Well, yeah, I agree a lot about what Jen said, but then there's the other side as well. I feel like they showed way too much. I didn't feel like it was necessary to show how Michael escapes the house. I'm like, I wanted to see that in the movie, And it does show an awful lot of kills. I'm like, slasher movie, we need to see the kills. Come on. Give it away in the trailer. Yeah, but I did like a lot of the stuff with like Laurie and the exposition. Kind of remind me a little like Dr. Loomis kind of thing. Every time he kills, he transcends. I like that.
I did too.
And I like that line too. People are saying, "Oh, they're going for the paranormal angle." I'm like, no, it's a metaphor. He transcends, as in he thinks he's getting more powerful. She's not saying he's powering himself with souls like Freddy Krueger. He just transcends, as in mentally he gets more powerful with each kill. They're not talking about how he's going to be zombie Michael from 4,
Maybe he is.
Or maybe he is. Maybe he is.
He could be.
I really do hope not.
Yeah, I
Where's
hope
the
not.
We already have
It is.
Jason Voorhees. We don't need another fucking Jason Voorhees.
No, we don't need a zombie Michael. We already had a zombie Jason. We don't need a zombie Michael. As far as myself is concerned, I was okay with the trailer. It doesn't show too much. Yeah, it shows too much. I kind of figured they were going to show some stuff about how it survived the fire. Well, I really wasn't disappointed in that. Yeah, too many kills, even though I know they said that it's supposed to be a lot of killing in this one, hence Halloween Kills. But it still got me a bit excited, even though I'm not really a true Halloween fan. But we'll see if the movie. What my main thing is that what's going to happen between Laurie and her daughter and her granddaughter. I was wondering, what they're going to do with those, or how the film is going to end, and how it's going to carry over into Halloween Ends. That's the only intriguing part that I have in this one.
Well, I think it's leading up to trying to give Laurie Strode a better send off than
Resurrection.
Resurrection.
What are you
Any
talking
send-off's
about? That
better
was a
than that.
fine send off for her.
Here she is, a survivor. And whoop, there you go. Peace.
Marty had a great reaction.
At least you got a kiss first.
At least she got a kiss first. There is that. I'm thinking that's what they're building up to, which is fine. You know, when Halloween Kills came out and then they had Terminator Dark Fate. Well, I didn't care for Terminator Dark Fate. I'm a big T2 fan, like Uber fan. I so wanted to see, and I made a fake movie poster of it, of Laurie Strode and Sarah Connor versus the Arnold Terminator and Michael Myers in a crossover to where you
Mark,
have...
you just end up with the action version of the Golden Girls.
I would love that. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
That's a good one.
Blanche shows up with a shotgun, you know.
Hey, sugar.
Betty
Arthur, bitch.
Betty White's got a 50 cal on the back of a Jeep.
as he's cursing up the storm.
Here's my money right there, man.
They'll have Sophia cracking jokes in the background.
She's the driver, so you know. There you go.
She can't even see over the steering wheel.
But I mean,
yeah.
I think that's what they're building up to, is just a proper send off for her character, whether or not she survives this one or makes it into the next one. You know, I thought it would be interesting to where at the end of this one, all of a sudden she snaps and she dons the mask and starts going killing people in Halloween.
I think Christian would love that.
Yeah, and then we find out that Michael Myers is secretly like a worm that infects people and controls them. That sounds great.
Lol.
Oh man. Oh yeah.
Let me ask you this, Christian. Do you think Silver Shamrock exists in this world of Halloween?
How many times do I have to tell you? I already know how the series ends. It's revealed that Michael's mask is made by Silver Shamrock. His head explodes, and Connell Cochran comes out laughing because that is the ultimate Halloween joke by pissing off the entire fandom.
And where does Buster Rhymes fit into this?
And somewhere in there, Buster Rhymes comes back and has a kung
fu
fight. Yeah, he has to have a kung fu fight with Michael. Like that's the actual, like, Laurie and all her kids like die at the end of this one, and then the actual person coming back for Halloween ends is Buster Rhymes. Yeah.
Oh man.
Then I'll be interested in this movie.
My first date with the lady who has become my wife over 22 years, we went to see Halloween 666. So there you go.
Nice.
I'm sorry.
Hey, my first date with Kelly, I took her to go see Tales from the Crypt Demon Night.
Oh, nice.
That movie's awesome.
Now that movie's awesome. That's
why it lasted. That's why it
That's a
fucking
great
lasted,
movie.
Monty.
If it was Bordello of Blood.
Oh, shut up, you hater. I will not hear you besmirching the name. Dennis Miller was fucking killer in that movie.
there's only one reason to watch Bordello of Blood, and that wasn't because of him. No, just kidding.
It's Chris Sedan. It's just Chris Sedan while you watch that one.
Oh, don't tell me you're going to talk about the ladies in that movie.
Angie Everhart. There you go. That's fine.
Uh-oh. There you go, Christian.
Damn.
Good one,
Fair
Christian.
enough, Frenchie.
What's up, Zach?
Hey, Zach.
I just saw that one.
So what do you guys think about the idea of the whole town coming together to take on Michael? You know, it seems like they're gonna like lynch him or something. I don't know.
I wish they wouldn't have showed that in the trailer, because that's a cool concept for a slasher film. Sorry to mean
I kind of
else.
expect, because I kind of expected it, so I wasn't surprised by that. So
I have a theory about that. I think the douchebag boyfriend from the last movie. I think he's
Oh,
going.
yeah.
I think Michael's going to knock him out and put his costume on him, and the town is going to lynch that fucking arsehole by mistake. I don't know why.
Another resurrection.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I think so. No
I get a
one
very
has the
forward
foresight
feeling
to
about
was
take
gonna
off the mask.
I was gonna say, haven't we already kind of seen the idea of the entire town hunting Michael down in like 4?
It's very forward, but again, it harkens back to like Frankenstein and the whole
Angry
village.
Mob.
Yeah, there's something about that I always loved. I loved it in 4, and
That's
I
what-
actually really like it in this.
I really like it because the guy I know was an extra in that mob.
Ooh.
So there's a scene in the trailer where they're rushing the double doors, I think, in the hospital or whatever. He's very blurry in the one corner of the. he couldn't tell us about it till after the trailer dropped, but we were like, oh, okay, well now I like the mob at least.
I know that mob.
I know that guy.
I know that.
Yeah, Marty.
Full agrees with you, Marty.
Yeah, I can see someone getting lynched who's not Michael by accident.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just hope they don't do that. It's like we said enough of that. Come on, guys, think of something new.
I personally would love if Silver Shamrock showed up. I personally would.
Yes.
dig that.
That would be perfect. Also, we could technically, as I love pointing out every time, in this timeline, Ben Tramer is still alive, so we can lynch him and still kill him.
He should die the same exact way.
Yes. Yeah.
There he is again. Boom.
Like,
Oh no!
I
It's Ben Tramer.
Looks like part 2.
Oh man,
See him walking across the street.
There's Michael. Get him.
Boom.
Hey, Cadaver Glove,
Hey,
Ben.
Cadaver, what's up?
Yo, Ben.
What's going on, Ben?
I want a Benny Hill style chase around the town with them hunting Ben Tramer.
It'd be like freaking Scooby Doo, where you got the buildings and they'll run between.
Hell
and
yeah.
And Michael's just hiding.
Oh man, I just imagine that with the Benny Hill song going on.
Oh yeah, everything's good with Benny Hill playing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yakety sax, man. That's.
Oh man,
I'm wondering how this is going to be in the trend of, and we can say it, unfortunately, the second film in a Halloween series. We had Halloween 2, the original. We had Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and now we have this, which is basically a Halloween 2. Well, kind of 3, but still, I mean, she's in the hospital again. It's,
Wait a second. They put her in a hospital again?
yeah,
God
she's in the hospital again.
Oh my god.
Yes. Oh, that's right. You didn't see the.
That's right. He hasn't seen the
We're spoiling it now.
I didn't mean to spoil
I
it
guess
for you.
that
Sorry.
makes sense considering she was super messed up by the end of the movie. But I swear, if the end of this film is her and Michael facing off in a hospital again, I am going. God damn it.
I don't think so, because in the trailer
Right, yeah.
it shows her injecting herself with adrenaline or something
Okay,
to
Yeah.
kind of pep herself up. So
fine,
obviously
sure,
she
that's
wasn't
a
on.
perfectly fine callback to 2 then, but as soon as you said that, I just thought, God damn it, if she blows up another hospital, why don't we reveal their siblings again?
No, that was Dr. Loomis who blew it up, not
yeah.
Lori.
Although-
Okay, we'll bring back Dr. whatever the hell his
There you
name
go.
was from the last movie.
The
We'll resurrect him.
Guys,
Although-
the healthcare in Haddonfield must be shite at this stage. The hospitals are getting wrecked.
Yeah.
I didn't see any white horse in this trailer though, so we
need
might
White
be
Horse.
okay.
Hey,
We
what's
need
up, Rick?
some White Horse.
Of symbolism.
We need some Weird
Yes.
Al Yankovic in this movie.
Yes, there you go.
Oh,
I've been reading that that Will Patton is gonna be in it. Like, so what happened with him? Did he see
Wait,
some-
didn't he die last movie?
yeah,
No, he was stabbed out. They never considered him dead because
He got ran.
the fake
Monty got
doctor.
run over by Sartain though.
Yeah. I
Right,
thought he
right.
got his head crushed in.
No, 'cause
Flash-
You know what I'd like
It'd be a
actually, guys?
flashback.
Yeah, I'd
Could
actually like if they done a flashback to the first night Michael was caught at the end of the original Halloween.
That would be cool. They have the technology to
Because
do
that's
that
always
too.
bugged me. That's always bugged me how he was so easily to subdue and put into the mental hospital.
Oh, there you go.
You know,
It is the same hospital from The Void.
Hell yeah.
boy.
Now you're talking, yeah.
That's a kick-ass movie.
See,
I did not like-
and then you got a surprise cameo. Nick Cage shows up with the badass axe from Mandy because he's getting in on the. You just bring in a bunch of cameos at the end of this film to all hunt Mike Myers down. I'm all for that. There we go.
That is how you get me invested in a Halloween movie. Is if you just replace Laurie Strode with Nick Cage.
The next one isn't going to be called Halloween Ends. It's going to be Halloween Ends Game with like all the characters from the fucking movie just coming through portals. We're here to help you, Laurie. Fucking Buster Rhymes coming
Be
out.
young Laurie, and fucking,
Be just like Endgame.
Yeah,
Oh my-
but then you're gonna have every iteration of Michael come through on the other side too, though, and then you have the big,
Michael takes a resurrection, Michael.
The one that mistakenly had the white hair for that one fucking scene.
Yeah.
Bad CGI mask from H2O, Michael.
Now it doesn't include the Rob Zombies.
Ooh, would it include Rob Zombie Michael?
Well, yeah.
And which version would it include Hobo Michael from part 2 or like Michael from part 1? Or both?
Both.
You put both. The versions from every single film Michael shows up. There you go.
There you go.
And they take on every form of Laurie Strode. There's your
Yeah.
Halloween end game right there.
I just have this image of like through this hypothetical film, like one of the portals hops out Tom Adkins from part 3. I'm like, I'm here too. And everyone just turns to him like, who the hell are you?
Now everyone turns to him and all the women just want to bang him.
Yeah.
Thrill. And Tom Hodkin just hops through a portal just saying, thrill me.
Oh man.
I want to see this movie now.
I'd be down. I like all of these ideas more
May
than
not
I
live
like
up to your
the actual movie.
expectations now, though.
Guys, we've actually created a far better movie that can ever be.
Oh man. Oh man. Uh-oh. Let's see what Ben is saying. Damn.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
White Ben.
You're killing me, Ben.
He's got a point though, because who pays for the ambulance bills? I mean, seriously,
Oh man. Now for our next trailer is Don't Breathe 2. That came out. Did you see that one, Christian?
Martin.
I might have, yes. I actually am interested in this movie.
All right, Marty. What do you think about the Don't Breathe 2 trailer?
Myself and Jen went over this. I done a video when it initially came out, and the thing, how the fuck are they turning a rapist into an anti-hero? That's I'm sorry, but that's the elephant we gotta acknowledge in the room. Like how? It's like, hey, guess what? He's Punisher Matt Murdock. He raped someone. He tried to rape someone with a fucking turkey baster. I'm like, why? How? Seriously.
Now, Marty, somebody did give a pretty good counter argument to that. I believe it was. Oh, yes, it was me.
In fairness, Jen did parry my points, but I'm still. It's turkey baster.
Turkey baster.
The turkey baster kind of trumps everything else.
I mean, he had his.
So, Jen, how can you redeem the character after what he tried to do in the first movie?
Okay, see, I'm not exactly redeeming him. I'm just looking at him through the eyes of a parent. And the way I told Marty is he didn't see, like, kind of just, he reminds me a lot of Louis Creed in Pet Sematary, where he lost, you got to remember, he lost his daughter, and then this justice system did not work, a little rich girl. And so in his mind, he was getting his own vengeance. And when it comes to children, all bets are off. Now, I am not condoning what he did at all, but I can, as a parent, I can understand going into that that crazy place where you just want to right the wrong. And this was his way of doing it. Again, not condoning what he did, but I can kind of stand in his shoes and go, okay, I can understand, not condone, understand. So and you guys are all
no, you're absolutely, it's one of those where you understand his motivation. Doesn't mean you're saying it's right, but you understand the origin. It's still screwed up. By all means, but let's face it, Marvel's spent an entire series taking a very a villain who's caused the death of lots of people and make him into an anti-hero as well. They can make anyone into an anti-hero.
But Mark, Loki never came at anyone with a fucking turkey baster.
No, this is true. But the 80s did turn your horror villains into icons and actually heroes. When you have people going to see, and I'm not complaining because I'm the kid of the 80s. I grew up. When you're going and you're cheering for Jason and you're cheering for Freddy for the kills that he's doing, okay, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. The fact that they're doing this character, making him an anti-hero in this film in Don't Breathe 2 is not a surprise at all that they're doing this.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, the turkey baster, when I saw that in the first one, I'm like, wow, okay, now I'm like, just when you think you thought of it all as a horror fan and different devices that have been used over the years, you're like, turkey baster. It's like,
Monty, the only other way I can see it is if they make who he's up against or he's trying to rescue the girl from absolutely deplorable. I mean, these guys are going to have to be fucking Adolf Eichmann level of pieces of shit to fucking,
But like my thing is, and I said this when you were doing the stream, I said this in the comments. It's to me, if you do that, it's like if you take Wolf Creek 2 and it was about Mick Taylor fighting neo-Nazis. Yeah, he's technically fighting something more evil than him, but he still tried and succeeded to rape a bunch of women in the first film. It's one of those things. I don't like the idea of turning him into an anti-hero.
No.
You can give him some sympathetic moments. Totally, the first film does that very well. But at least in the trailer, he looks like it's a Liam Neeson like Taken style movie.
Right?
Yeah, it does.
I have a certain set of skills.
I could hear your heartbeat from a mile away.
I was kind of a bit surprised, but I wasn't surprised because how well everyone liked the character despite his motivations. Everyone liked the character. Everyone liked that Don't Breathe film. So I'm not surprised that the writer said, let's make him an anti-hero then. We'll try to forgive him for his past misdeeds because, he did lose his daughter and the justice system failed him. So he's trying to get his daughter back through very immoral means. So right now they're trying to, let's make him a more sympathetic character, which I don't have a problem with, but obviously the guys that are going after him, they have to make it so that way they're worse than what he's done. So at least that way we'll feel sorry for him.
Now, is this going to be a sequel or prequel?
No, it's a sequel.
It is a sequel. Okay.
I wish it was a prequel.
That's it was a little hard to tell in the trailer at first. I'm like, wait, why has he got a family? And I'm like, this is weird. Okay, I thought maybe it was before he really flipped, but
even if it is a prequel, does that lessen how heinous of a character he is, though?
No, but no. I think if you do it as a prequel, it would be an interesting exploration to see to where he got.
It would be a cool character study.
It'd be a cool character study of where he got there, exploring that a little bit more. I'm not saying it still makes it right and make you want to cheer for him, but you don't have to have necessarily him as the hero for the film to still sit there and maybe explain, explore where he came from and what really made him think it was okay to do what he did. But doing it as a sequel, it's like, no, dude, It's like, no.
Turkey
it's just-
baster.
Turkey baster.
Turkey fucking baster.
You've got a new happy family. I bet Thanksgiving gets a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Oh no!
You just gotta label both turkey basters really good.
Oh,
Oh no! I used the semen-based turkey baster and not the regular one. Oh no!
You might be looking to start a whole
Mark,
new family.
I should have warned you about Jen.
Where'd you get the baster from? Well, I couldn't find the one in the drawer, but I found one downstairs. Oh no!
I told you, honey, don't take the baster from the sex dungeon. Not the baster from the sex dungeon, okay?
I so badly want like the ending of this film or something to just be cutting them on Thanksgiving, and she just says that, and the movie ends with just slowly zooming in onto his face, like
The whole family might end up strapped to the harnesses or down the base.
oh no, Jesus.
Ooh.
Oh man. So what do you think about the trailer, Sean?
I kind of think like it could be them trying to trick us into thinking that he's an anti-hero. Because if you look at the first movie, kind of starts out like that way. You kind of feel for him a little bit,
Yeah.
like, oh, this old man. He's an old veteran, served our country, and these punks are breaking into his house and trying to steal his money. And at first, you kind of like rooting for him, like, yeah, this guy's badass, yeah. And then you see the real dark side. It goes way dark. I feel like that could happen in this. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if it was a red herring. I don't know how your audience would take it. They might take it better, like we're talking about, because he was such what he did, what we found out he did. It would make more sense that even though they're playing it up like he's the hero because they're showing a lot of him fighting these guys, who knows? Maybe these people are kidnapping the girl to get her away from Turkey Baster Man. You know.
Well, that's what one of the guys says. You need to be afraid of this guy, not me. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that I would see them doing that to where he is actually the villain, and these guys that we think are the bad guys stealing it from his family, are actually trying to do good. But in the trailer, they want you to think the other way because they want, to pull in seats because he was the main focus of the last film, the first film. So it'd be interesting to see how they actually do it, if that's the way they go. Maybe it is giving Hollywood too much credit, but they might surprise you. So they might surprise it. It's one of those where it would be a happy surprise if he was actually the villain and that's what the story is. That'd be a happy surprise. I think I like that a lot better than, oh no, he is like Turkey Baster, Liam Neeson, but this guy is worse. These guys are worse than him. So,
It even seemed like a little Rambo Last Blood in there, like setting up the booby traps for them and going to.
Yeah, because everybody kind of forgets Rambo wasn't the hero in Rambo First Blood. Okay,
No.
Rambo, everybody loves Rambo because they remember him from Rambo 3, I'm your worst nightmare, taking on a helicopter with a bow and arrow. No. First time Rambo showed up, he was killing civvies and he's putting traps out in the woods, and he's he's kind of gone, because of his post-traumatic stress. It's like, no, he's not the hero.
Yeah, there's no heroes in the original.
No,
Basically terrorizing this town.
I think that's why I always appreciate the first Rambo than the First Blood than Rambo First Blood Part 2, because that's more of a realistic idea of a guy who was fought in Vietnam War, and and they're treated like trash when they come back in, and then he's just looking for his friend, and everyone gets on his case, so the guy just snaps.
Yeah.
Like in Morel's novel, I think he only kills one cop in the original one, but he does go fucking apeshit in Morel's novel,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
Troutman has to blow his head off with a shotgun in the end of the novel. So I was like, yeah, Rambo was not the hero. Rambo was a fucking slasher going around in town with a machine gun in the novel. So yeah.
Pretty much.
But I mean that goes along with Evil Dead as well, and a few other characters. It's like, oh, I love Ash. I'm like, yeah, he's funny. You mean from Army of Darkness, not from Evil Dead, right? Because
Yeah, he's a nothing in the first Evil Dead.
people watch the first Evil Dead and they're like, "Where's my Ash?" He's like, "He's right there.
He's right there.
Right there.
He's struggling to
Doesn't do
get
much
back in
until
like
the
the
last
last
10 minutes.
Ugh.
Yeah, he's just not Ash in the first one. It was more about the demons.
Right,
Yeah.
so I mean that's just one of those things. So I'm hoping that it turns out he is actually kind of bad in in this segment. It sounds bad, but I'm hoping that, because otherwise
Me too.
trying to give him a positive redemption spin, I'm like, no, just no.
And it'd be too cliche, you know. We've already
Mhm.
seen that so many times.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Mm-hmm. So, Marty, you know I had to bring this up because have you seen the Tomorrow War?
Oh Christ. I never knew they decided to remake that Tom Cruise movie. It was. Even the white spikes or white stripes or whatever the fucking
The white
Deftones.
stripes.
The Seven Nation Army?
Yeah, they're basically gangly fucking tentacly monsters, just not as mechanoid, and it's a mess. It's an absolute mess of a movie. I couldn't take it seriously. I liked the original title was Kill Die Repeat.
Yeah.
What was
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, Edge of
Edge of
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow.
I thought that was way better.
great.
And I know there's a different premise, but it just felt like someone said, "I like that. Let's make a Kmart version."
Kmart
Because after I saw the Tomorrow War, my first thought was, I got to tell Marty about the white spikes and how would they match up with the predators and the xenomorphs from the aliens? Because I always like coming up with aliens to pit up against his favorite two alien monsters.
they're basically albino fucking lizard jokes.
What?
Christ almighty, it's just like, yay!
That's a choice.
Look at these-
That's a choice for a design.
Yeah.
But did any of you guys seen the Tomorrow War yet?
No.
Watch
No,
it back,
I didn't
yeah.
know about this movie until you mentioned it.
I haven't watched it only because I saw the trailer, and the sci-fi fan in me instantly looked at the concept and goes, okay, paradoxes all over the place with this film. I don't know if I could handle watching it and looking past any type of time concept, because when you're playing with time, it's like, okay, we're going in the past to take people to fight in the future. I'm like,
Wait, what?
The thing is as well, without giving it this way, a particular character, she is influenced by Chris Pratt's character. So
Yes.
if he is taken out of the equation, how the fuck does she develop into that character to suggest bringing him for? It makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense.
I know what you're talking about, Marty, and I won't spoil anything. That's one thing I was disappointed in that particular film about that concept right there. Christian. Yeah, it's basically aliens. You got people coming from the future saying, we need you guys to fight because we're getting our ass kicked by a bunch of white spikes. So we got to bring you back into the future to help us defeat them, or humanity's going to be extinct.
Humanity's going to be extinct because you're going to make a massive time paradox.
exactly. Thank
Humanity's
you.
going to be killed. Is already going to be immediately erased.
Now, I will give the writers credit. I don't know if you caught this, Marty. There are some of the people who get drafted. There is a reason why they drafted them, so they won't cause a time paradox.
I noticed like some. again, I don't want to give away plot lines in case
Mhm.
anyone wants to see this fucking masterpiece. But yeah, it's
But how well can terminally ill people fight? Come on, I'm just guessing. I
okay, Mark,
haven't seen it. I haven't seen it, but
dude, fucking give this man a microwave oven. He got it in fucking one.
Wait, the more you tell about me about this movie, the more. What?
Yo, how
Oh
about
my
that scene
God.
with the World Cup soccer and the
That
watching
was
it
like
on
an advert
TV
for
and-
fucking TV. That scene was like an advert.
Like,
Hey,
oh my
come on down
God.
for Christmas to watch the match.
the time
I-
warp and these people and soldiers and
'cause-
machine guns on the soccer
there's-
field.
Yeah, because Chris Pratt, they're sitting there watching the World Cup. The guy's on the breakaway. He's about to score a goal, and next thing you know, this weird shit comes out of nowhere. And
I just took a guess. But that's the thing is, I watched this trailer going. I've seen this film a few times before, and I just took a guess of how they were going to get around the paradox. I'm like, well, how did they do that? I'm like, oh, people who are going to die anyway. Let's indoctrinate them into our army. I'm like, okay, but.
Okay, sure, that's a bit better, but that's still a reach, man.
It is a reach.
I
I
was
haven't
getting a
watched
little
it
bit
yet,
of-
but go ahead.
I was getting a little bit of Independence Day vibes, and then some guy cracks a joke. Oh, good thing Will Smith's not here. Like, oh my God.
Sean, fucking Independence Day is Lawrence of fucking Arabia.
I was gonna say
Okay.
that movie, for all of its problems, at least is a pretty tightly written script for the most part.
Well, it knows what it is. ID4
Yeah.
knows exactly what it is. That's the
Yeah,
thing is
just
it doesn't play off any more than what it was. And I personally am one of the few people that liked the sequel only because it knew what it was, which was an ode, a send up, whatever, to 50s sci-fi films. If you look at that, it's the cheesy 50s sci-fi film.
yeah, that's
know.
what I thought about Resurgence Day. It's only the get my words together. I like the practical effects. Fortunately, the characters were just unforgettable. Just plain forgettable.
But I saw people hyping up Tomorrow War, and it's weird. I know people call me a film critic. As the more the hype of the film, the more I distance myself and wait to watch it because of the hype. And I'm like, want to go into it at least a little bit to where it maybe dust settles a little bit. There's people saying, oh, this would be the great blockbuster film or whatnot. And I'm like, I'm good. I got so much other stuff to watch, that I could wait on this.
The thing that bugs me was I had heard like they were going through different drafts, and there was one really cool idea. It was actually they were recruiting soldiers who were going to die in prior wars like Vietnam, World War II, World War One, the Civil War. That would have been fucking cool.
That's an okay
because these
idea.
guys
That's
were like
interesting,
marksmen and demolitionists, and that would have been cool prospect, but it was just fucking.
Yeah, they pop up just before a big battle or just before a bunch of guys end up dying or charging a line, and they end up charging a line, but they end up actually getting sucked into the future. And then, oh, hey, by the way, stop, you got to fight these guys. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
that would have been cool, but just.
And I enjoyed the movie. I thought Chris Pratt was good as a lead actor. Something for him to try to get out of the Guardians of the Galaxy thing and the Jurassic War stuff. I enjoyed it. I actually liked the white spikes. I love their design. I felt as though they were a real threat. They were real dangerous. I thought they were. I love the Queen. And again, Marty, I still think they would give the Predators and the alien xenomorphs a run for the money.
My arse. Go away.
Xenomorph. Well, yeah. I'm not sure about the Predators, but they're good hunters. But you talk about Chris Pratt breaking away. I think it's the same thing with Ryan Reynolds. Unfortunately, the way they do their delivery of their characters, almost every single one, you can't help but see one of their previous characters. Like Ryan Reynolds, you see him in Free Guy, and I'm like, oh, he's playing.
It's just like playing a Deadpool trapped in the game.
He's playing a clean cut Deadpool, or you see Chris Pratt and his delivery I loved him. Don't get me wrong. I love Guardians of the Galaxy, but in that role, you see him and see his role in The Office. It's like it's similar delivery, so it's hard for them to break away from your characters. You know, that's just their style, and there's nothing wrong with it. But you look at Chris Pratt, and you go, well, now you look at him and go, oh, Star-Lord, okay. You know, it's like Star-Lord fighting aliens. They got to take a real chance and do one of those roles that just really where they escape into it, kind of like, you know, kind of like Harry Potter did and Topher Grace have done, you know, and you know, Toby Maguire, you know, where they've taken roles that really, like, you look at them going, wow, that was them, you know, and then it kind of cuts that cord. But until then, you know, every time I see Chris Pratt, I'll think of Star-Lord. And go ahead.
It's like this when I see Daniel Radcliffe, I don't look at him as Harry Potter anymore. I think he's done a good job in escaping that role that he's done. But unfortunately, just like I said, when I saw the trailer for Free Guy, it's like, what is this? This is Deadpool trapped in a virtual world. He's just not cursing, and he's not breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing is, he can act. I've seen him in like Buried. You ever see that movie?
Yeah,
where he's trapped in the coffin or whatever. Like,
Voices
he carries the whole movie, and
Voices was good.
Voices is great. Voices is a nice.
Voices was fantastic. I was like, he was wonderful, and I loved the way they handled that material that had you going for a long time. That was one of those few films that I was like, okay, I did not see that coming. You know, at the end, it's like I kind of suspected a little, but the actual twist for Voices, I thought, was
Christian. I think Christian would love Voices.
Oh, Voices is a great movie. I really love Voices.
Okay, who has seen the first two parts of Fear Street?
I saw part one.
I've seen part one.
Okay, so we talked about this earlier. You said you like part one better than part two.
Yeah,
so
I like part one. I don't hate part two at all, but I vastly preferred part one, which is weird because as anybody who's watched this stream knows, I hate Scream. And this
Mark,
Scream-like
I'm
film.
surprised.
Before you go any further, Mark.
Yeah.
You ever want to hear the greatest rant about Scream? Christian will tell you.
I hate Scream. I just hate it. It's terrible. It's a terrible series. And this fixes the reason I like part two so much, or part one so much, is because it fixes one of my biggest problems with the Scream series of it has characters I'm invested in and care about. You know, I actually really liked every single part of our main cast of characters in the film. I thought they were all really engaging characters. When certain characters die in the film, I was legit kind of surprised and kind of bummed out by it. I was like, I like them. And I was like, okay, I wish we would have kept them going for the rest of the trilogy, you know? But yeah, so part two, I enjoyed. Part two to me is like, okay, this is a really solid camp slasher movie. I've seen that done before. It's a lot rarer for me to see a 90s slasher movie that I don't think is awful.
Yeah, I think that goes with it because when you look at 90s slasher films, obviously you think of Scream, you think of Urban Legend.
I think of Cherry Falls personally, but sure.
I know what you still did last summer on the eve of the 4th of July in the backseat of the car. You know that.
Exactly. I think that's what comes when you comes with that one. What I actually liked about one was good. I like the fact that you had a teen slasher film where they actually didn't hold back the gore. They didn't try to do a PG-13 crap. The characters were okay. I really didn't care for two of the characters. The kills were great. Yeah. I was a bit surprised because I haven't read anything from R.L. Stine. I was too old when Fear Street books came out, and I was too old when Goosebumps came out, So I never read any of the books. I wasn't invested in the TV show. But I was deeply surprised at what they did. And the second one was just a great slasher film because I like the fact that they actually built the characters more. And then later on, when the killing started, we started caring for the characters and the fact that the kills were brutal.
Yeah, the kills. I like the bread slicer one. I think that's still the best one out of the whole trilogy so far. But I'll agree with you that the kills in part 2 are better.
Yeah, Ben. Yeah, the third act was pretty rad. Yeah, have you seen the first 2 parts of Fear Street, Marty?
No, I backed a wrong horse and decided to watch Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. Like,
oh no, I'm so sorry.
I've seen the first 2 parts of Resident Evil Infinite Darkness yet. I have not seen the other 2 parts. It's I guess it's okay. I don't know where they're going with the story though.
The animators were really excited about animating hands. It was like, do you notice the hands had to be doing something the whole fucking time? It's like, hey, look, we can animate good fingers. Great, let's focus on the plot, though. Let's focus on what's happening. Hey, Leon's eating a sandwich. Great, yeah, fucking let's move the plot forward. Like that was. Oh.
Why not both? Maybe that's a plot critical sandwich.
Have your sandwich and eat it too.
There you go.
Yeah, because it takes place in between Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 5. So so that's where that story lies in that. And so far, I like I said, it's okay. It's just not. I don't know where in the stories they're going.
It's definitely nice fan service because he mentions the incident in Pittsburgh. So he's obviously referencing the Outbreak games. Do you ever play the Resident Evil Outbreak games?
Oh God,
no,
right. That was an Outbreak reference.
I have not played any of the Outbreak games. No.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not missing anything.
I enjoyed them. I thought they were cool.
Wait, I'm thinking of Survivor. The Outbreak games are like the rail shooters, right?
Yeah. You talking about Survivor? Yeah. No, I played that game. That's unforgettable.
Oh God, I hate Survivor is the worst Resident Evil game.
Outbreak is where you have 6 survivors and you have to get your entire team out of Raccoon City. It's pretty cool. It came out on the PlayStation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. I love the web isn't anything like that. Talk about I have not seen Werewolves Within. Anyone seen Werewolves Within?
We need
it's on the list of stuff we're gonna watch at some point this week.
It's on my list too. I haven't watched it yet. I did see I think it's the Wolf in the Snow one.
Snow Hollow.
Yeah, the tough part with that one was for me, I couldn't get behind the main character because his style of humor, I wasn't expecting that type of film because I went in cold. I didn't know anything about him or his humor. I just went in cold and I'm watching it and I'm like, I really hate this guy. I find this guy.
See, that's the problem about that film is I think the movie agrees with you that he's a terrible person, but I'm not fully sure, and that's why I can't get with the film. I'm like 70% sure the movie thinks he's awful too, but I don't know for sure.
Right.
Was this Robert Foster's last movie or was Gran Torino? I'm trying to think.
I think
Gran Torino. It might have been this one. I don't know about Gran Torino.
Gran Torino came out before this one.
Yeah, because I know Werewolves Within. It stars the girl from the AT&T commercials. He's in this one.
Oh yeah,
I heard that.
Yeah, but the Wolf of Snow Hollow, I just couldn't get into it. And you're right, I couldn't tell. Okay, am I supposed to hate this guy, or is he going to be redeemed at the end, or is this? I don't know. But we're following him in every single scene, and I'm like, oh, he was just, his personality was so overpowering. It overshadowed almost every scene he was in for me to really get into any type of horror comedy or anything with it. And so by the end, when we finally get to kind of the werewolf stuff, I'm like, oh, okay. It was all right. But at the end, it's like, okay. But go ahead.
Yeah. It is definitely one of those movies where on the initial, like, while you're watching it, you're like, okay, this is okay. And then the more you think about it, the more you're like, why did you do this? What is this whole side plot about this biker and
Yeah.
this wolf. What was the point of that? Like, I get it, red herring, but why?
Why?
Usually a red herring is supposed to like actually do something in the story. He's completely pointless when you actually look back at there's no reason for the film to show him other than to try to trick the audience.
Right. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to Werewolf Within. I want to see that. It looks entertaining.
I've heard good things.
I've heard
Yeah,
good
me
things
too.
about it. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping for a good horror comedy. So
It's
We
been
need
a
a
while.
good werewolf movie too, you know.
oh, well,
we have-
werewolf movie, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
Nazi one we saw.
That was a German Shepherd movie at the end. That was more of a killer dog. That was more of a killer dog movie.
Yeah, but it still had kind of
I
the.
guess.
What movies were that?
It was. I think it was just called Werewolves. It's on Shudder. It's like
Yeah.
a Polish movie about kids escaping a concentration camp and
yeah,
being
yeah, I
hunted
saw-
down by. Yeah,
I saw the
it's a
trailer.
good movie. Very wrong title, but good movie.
See, for me, I like Late Phases personally. I thought that was
Oh.
actually that was a.
You just said my favorite werewolf movie right there.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Yes, I love that movie. That is my favorite film of the last 10 years.
It was very
Actually,
enjoyable.
guys, Mark, fucking Nick Dimici's character versus the blind man from fucking Don't Breathe.
Nick Dimici.
Badass
It's all
blind
about Nick
guys.
Dimici.
Fucking Marco Polo fight. Marco Polo.
They're in a field. They're in a field, standing at opposite ends. Marco Polo, and they're slashing into the air as they're trying to get.
Oh man.
I'd watch that.
I would. Anything with more Nick Dimici is a good thing.
Okay. Who's seen the Forever Purge?
Haven't yet.
Nope. I thought the trailer looked like it's a Purge movie.
It's gonna be the last one, right, guys?
The
Totally
last
the
Purge.
last one.
But the name of it is the Forever Purge, as in it goes on forever.
I'll
It is the
say
purge that never
this,
ends.
Jen. I'll say this, Jen. Just how the film ends, it can't be the last one.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Purge films except for the first Purge. That was really disappointing, but I enjoy the Purge films. They're kind of a guilty pleasure. They've been fun. I still think it peaked with Election Day. I thought Election Day was actually really great way to tie things up. And then they came out with the first Purge, and I'm like, what is this? And then they did the Forever Purge, which is just another Purge film. They are trying to give it a little more modern spin, and you could see them trying to revitalize the franchise. I enjoyed it for what it was. I totally recognize its warts and all, but I was entertained by it. There was some actual tense moments in it, I thought. You get past some of the dialogue, but yeah, I mean, like you said, it is a Purge film. I mean, it felt more like a Purge film than the first one. I mean, when I got into it, I had characters I cared about and didn't want to see get killed. And they took some surprises with them in a good way. And I was like, yeah, I was entertained by the end of the film. It wasn't I'm not going to say it's like, wow, mind blowing, but for a Purge film, it's a good Purge film.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's what to expect out of the Purge series. Right. I think some people will probably think when they're looking at the film, they'll probably say, wow, is James comparing this to what's happening in the country right now?
Of course.
Yeah, I know, but
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, the Purge films have always wore their propaganda and what they were going for on their sleeve. That's the one thing I give them credit for, is that the filmmakers are just putting it right out there. They're not hiding exactly what they're criticizing, and so it triggers some people. And I like that. I like the fact, I like that bravery, at least in a wide release horror film, something that would normally kind of you would see in an indie film. They just wear it on their sleeve, and they're like, they don't care. They went for it, and they've managed to make 4 films and a TV series out of it. So, I never thought after I saw the first one they would go any further really with it than what they have. And yeah, I mean, it's political commentary. People might not like that. They don't seem to care, which I give that mad props of that kind of rogue filmmaking of just, we're putting our views out there. If you don't like it, oh well.
Yeah, no, exactly. And horror always, like, probably not as blatant as The Purge has been, but
No.
horror has always been a super political genre if you
Mhm.
look back at it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
It-
I'm
it-
fine with it. Just not this. This one's a lot more blatant about its
Oh, yeah.
politics than a lot of the older stuff, which definitely, sure, why not at this point?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So Marty, since you actually live in the UK, what do you think something like that could happen out there in the UK?
Well, first off, I'm not in the UK. I'm in Ireland.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, but
Top of the morning to you.
but no, I possibly because they've got like far left groups and they've skinheads over there, so it's well possible for shit like that to go down. So. One of about Ireland, we're just too fucking laid back. Purge? What? Fuck off! I'm in the pub. I'm watching the match. Fuck off. Way out of that.
Because I know y'all people are probably watching the Euro Cup. Oh man, yeah, I didn't. Because I was just watching the first Purge again, and I like I said, I didn't have a problem. But I understand why people didn't like it because it was just contained to the one house, the Sandiks, and everybody wanted to see more of it. But I really didn't have a problem with the first one. I actually did enjoy it.
I did too. I like the.
I like the second one because it's
Anarchy.
the best Punisher movie never made.
Yes, exactly.
I love that. I love Anarchy for that. Yeah.
Anarchy was really solid. That was what I was looking more for from The Purge. I liked the first one, and I understand what they were doing, and that fight, especially where the guy gets plowed onto the pinball machine. Holy ball, that's brutal, that fight. But it was contained. It was really what I wanted to see. What I give them props for is the world building that they did with this from the first one to the second one, and just building this whole world of where this batshit crazy night happens, to where by the second one you buy into it. You're like, okay, and then you get into the third one and you see people starting to fight back, and it's an interesting trilogy. I like those three films really the best way they play out story wise. I did enjoy the Forever Purge. It's just that the first Purge, they approached it way wrong, because it's kind of like Fast and Furious films. Those are my guilty pleasure. And it was like the first Purge kind of broke away from the formula a little. And you're like, this isn't why we came. No, we came here to see crazy people in masked up, killing other people, and good guys trying to make it through the city. That's what we want to see,
And family.
And family.
And family.
Yeah.
Oh no! Don't get me started talking about Fast 9.
I still haven't seen it, but everything I've heard has made me so excited for this shit.
It is so wild. It was just out there. I was so entertained.
Christian will love Fast 9, and that's all I have to say.
All I've heard about it is one character has an existential breakdown about how they all should be dead, and maybe physics makes no sense around them. And I'm like, that is everything I've wanted for these films.
I won't say anything, but yes,
he does, and the way they play it off is the way Scream should have played it off. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
I love the fact that series started off as kind of a low-key Point Break knockoff.
Right.
And now it's fucking James Bond. I mean, the fucking face. What the fuck?
Even more over the top than James Bond.
See, and I'm with you. I followed the whole series, and after 3, I was like, okay, it's done. Then they came out with 4, and you're like, okay, I could kind of get behind that. For me, 5 was the pinnacle, though, where they found their formula.
Yes.
They found their formula, they stuck with it, and they found what the fans really wanted. We're like, we don't care about this drama with family and his emotional trauma. We want to see big, actual muscle cars do batshit crazy stunts for about 2 hours where people are just flying. It's a superhero film with people who drive cars, is what they are now.
Because I did not get into the Fast and Furious films until 5.
Well, that's the best one to start off with.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because after 5, I'm like, wow, they really changed up. Wow.
I actually like the first one the best, but because it's more grounded, it's like a regular action movie. It's not.
It's Point Break. It's essentially
shit.
Point Break.
It is basically Point Break. Yeah.
No, it's a weird series, especially like rewatching them now. I'm like, wow, this series took some changes. And I go back and hear people complaining about how Tokyo Drift is too much of a change of the formula.
Considering it never was intended to be a fast film, it makes sense, you know.
Then the
Oh,
one
man.
with Jason Statham, and they're like fighting, and the baby's like, there's a baby getting thrown around, and they're fighting each other. Like that.
They're fighting. I love that. I think it was it was 6 where they're fighting. Statham is fighting him, and he literally they slam a ratchet onto the ground, and it just shatters like they're superheroes. Like they're just pounding each other. The Rock like comes out of this ambulance firing a minigun. He's untouched. I mean, it's like you're like it is. It doesn't care, you know. And I like
They're driving on the ice and the
submarine.
Does the Rock throw a missile? Doesn't he like
Yes.
open the side of the car door and just
Yes.
the
He flexes out of a cast because he's so manly.
It's like,
I don't need this anymore.
oh man. Okay. All right.
Anyway, horror movies.
Horror movies.
yeah.
All right, Mark. A question for you. What is your perception of the horror classics?
How far back are we talking for classics?
I'll say this: Universal Monsters and
Okay.
Hammer Horror.
Oh, I love them. I think you should watch them because some of them are actually are really solid films, but you can see the influences later on, you know, in modern horror films. And even that formula, we did 8 weeks of Hitchcock on my podcast where we covered 8 Hitchcock films in 8 weeks. And watching his films, you see where so many modern horror film directors and writers borrowed from Hitchcock. And you go back to Brian De Palma. Or you go back earlier to the Universal Monsters and even Hammer Horror, some of the style. I mean, if you look at your vampire films and you look at how Hammer Horror did them, the Victorian style, the very lush sets, and all of that, those influenced what you see even up to today of your modern vampire films and that especially, or your horror films, the Victorian stuff. Now, for a modern audience, Hammer Horror may be a little slow, but I enjoy them for that and getting to see those origins and those classic, you know, 50s, the Universal Monster films. I'm just putting myself in someone's seat who hasn't been exposed to that much, sitting down and watching something like that on screen that they haven't seen before, friggin' Frankenstein or Bride of Frankenstein, or, you know, you're like, holy crap, you know, the Invisible Man, that stuff had to be mind-blowing back then. And you look at the techniques and the way they write characters back then, and you still see that influence today in your modern horror. I mean, it's just, so I recommend people watch them. They may not be impressed, they may be cheesy, but if you just pay attention, you can see so much that is still used today that they were doing for the first time in those films, some of them, you know. They hadn't done it before. Look at King Kong. One of my favorites is the original King Kong. You look at what they were doing in that film with the rear projection and the guys walking in front of it, you know, for back then they came up with that. And I was talking to someone about it. And I'm like, look at what they did with Mandalorian. It's not horror, but they're basically doing rear projection. They've got LCD sets with images on the back of them and people in front of I mean, it's still the basic same concept. So to ignore the classics, I think, is ignoring where the films you might love, especially the horror films, where they came from and where they got that from. And I think that's important to see where those origins came from. And some of them may surprise you. You know, you might like, holy crap, 1939. Wow, that they did that. You know?
Yeah, because I was, when I first saw the original King Kong, I was quite amazed. And didn't Harry Harryhausen get his start by watching that?
He apprenticed. He was an apprentice to Willis O'Brien at the time.
Right.
He said that must have been witchcraft to people when they were watching it back then. They were like, fucking dinosaur and beating up a monkey. What the fuck?
You know, people checking
it's still awesome.
It is. People checking the newspaper. I don't remember a gorilla crawling a building, but I saw it on there. How'd they do that? You know?
Yeah, because that's one of the things that I was always been amazed at, looking back at some of the classic horror films that I grew up watching, and especially with the Invisible Man and how they did the effects back then and how great they looked then back
Yeah.
then. So that I always amazed by that.
Hmm.
And then like the Wolf Man with the gradual transformation thing. I thought that was really cool, and that's
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I think as well, not only horror, contemporary horror movies, but those movies went on to influence other things like superhero movies. I
Yep.
mean, if you look at James Whale, The Invisible Man, that's a movie about a supervillain. Like that's
It is, yeah.
the character
pretty much,
charisma
yeah.
of that character. Like, you know, he's
Mhm.
found his way into a lot of modern movies, and a lot of shadow and silhouettes, like in Dracula and stuff. They found their way into modern sci-fi or modern kind of superhero movies. And it's not just restricted to horror. So they have a lot to we've a lot to be thankful for those movies. Like, you know.
Right.
We do.
Absolutely.
Christian, do you have a question you want to ask Mark?
Come back to me. I didn't have anything prepared. Come back to me if we have any other questions.
Okay, all right. Let's see. This actually comment came up before. Independent horror versus mainstream, Mark. Yeah, because I know you as much as you love independent horror films.
I do love my independent horror films. I like independent horror films because even though there is a lot of rough films to watch, and that's how I'll put it nicely, is that they're rough to watch.
No, yeah, trust me, I know.
There are ones that either take a chance or will surprise you at what they did with the budget they were given.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Wisconsin, here is where I'm based at. We have a lot of indie horror films to come out, and some of them have made it big. One of them is called Gags, and one of them is called Dead Weight. And if you haven't seen them, I would recommend them. Gags is. Oh, have you seen Dead Weight?
Yeah, Dead Weight's really good.
Yeah. John Pata, and that he ran the Oshkosh Horror Film Festival, and I covered that for a number of years when he ran it. Great guy. You know, those type of films I like because they're people that are going into this not expecting to actually make money off of it. They're doing it because they have a story to tell, and if they can get distribution, the proper one, great. But they want to make a movie. They have a passion like us people who watch them. They want to tell their story, and that comes through on screen. And sometimes it comes off fake or it's rough because they don't have the money, but sometimes it's very genuine, like with Dead Weight and with Gags, that you appreciate it more because you realize everybody who worked on this was not getting $1 million bank. They weren't getting a 6-figure thing. They're buried in mud or blood or whatever for hours on end, and they maybe got enough for their hotel room and gas, you know.
Yeah.
And so I do like some of the honesty that comes from most indie horror. I'm not going to say all because there are those, but I think indie horror takes a little bit more of a chance because it can, because it's not mainstream. And then you get some of those that explode. I mean, Gags, to set it up, if you're not familiar with Gags at all, a number of years ago, there was some viral photos about a creepy clown in Green Bay hanging around, and it made the news and everything. Someone was standing around as a clown on corners. That was them. That was their part of their gimmick. They started with just shooting very short videos of what the hell is that clown on the corner, and that made the actual news and national news and made it over in Europe. They got news clips from people in Europe who were covering this creepy clown that was not terrorizing. He was just standing around at midnight or late night. Well, that was those guys. They made a short film and then they made a feature film called Gags, and it took off, and it's a fun movie. And, you know, that's what I like about indie films. Plus, you then get ridiculous films like Velocipaster, which, you know, which for alone, its title alone makes it, you know. But then you also have Anna and the Apocalypse or the Book of Monsters. Book of Monsters is great. It's I think from the UK, and it's a wonderful film that's got a lot of practical effects, some humor in it. And yeah, if I've got my choice, I like the indie horror. Gags is on Amazon Prime right now. And if I'll take the indie horror only because I'm usually more surprised by that than your mainstream horror. Plus, as we talked about earlier, mainstream horror tends to fall back on properties we've already done: Saw, Halloween, Friday the 13th, or some knockoff, if they're going to come out with something, so they can refresh the brand and keep the copyright or whatever. Whereas indie films, yeah, a lot of them come off the same, but you find more gems, I think, there that are more honest, you know.
Yeah.
So you know,
because I can't remember the indie film that I saw last week. Darn it, I can't remember it, but it was these two, this lesbian couple. They decide to go to this resort in the woods, and they decide to try to save their relationship, and all of a sudden they're attacked by these I can't think of their names, white nationalists, because unfortunately they attacked the gay guy, and they attacked them, and they were going to kill him and broadcast him on the net. It was obviously it was an indie film, but they did a good job. I enjoyed the film. That was a decent film. Unfortunately, the other film that I saw over the weekend, called The Nest, that was not a good one.
I didn't watch that one. I got the screener for it, or the request where I could get the screener for it. I didn't choose to watch The Nest. I did watch one called Lilith, which for the character who's playing the title character, which you could probably guess, she plays the succubus or whatever. This is one of those where the rest of the film is kind of standard, but her performance and her character, I really loved. So yeah. I was attached to that, and you find that to where, okay, this is kind of your standard. Oh, great. Look, we have an opening of a woods. If I could do a compilation of horror films that open with a drone shot above the woods, it'd be like an hour and a half long. But, you get those gems, or you find pieces like, okay, that's a creative thought. Like A Cadaver Christmas is another fun one, where it's about a janitor at a school that fights off zombies on Christmas Eve who break through whatever. It ends up through an experiment or whatnot. And it's very gory, practical. It's comedic. And it's a fun movie that I wouldn't have seen had I not gone to an indie horror fest. It would have never been on my radar. And seeing that, I was like, that's amazing. And I know you didn't care for it too much, Lamont, but The Stylist is another indie film.
Oh, Stylist was great.
Yeah,
I just got the Blu-ray for it, actually.
Ooh, I didn't
that's what. Yeah, thanks. It was called The Retreat. It was called.
There you go.
The Retreat.
The Retreat one.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I actually saw Megan Fox's latest film, Till Death.
How is that?
That was actually pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I actually did enjoy it. It's kind of better than the average horror thrillers, like When the Bow Breaks or The Intruder, or some other these thrillers that Michael Ealy stars in, or you might see Morris Chestnut star in. But Megan Fox actually does a pretty good job.
Nice.
Good job. You'll definitely get Gerald's Game vibes when you watch it, though.
Yeah, I've seen clips, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of looks like Gerald's Game with Megan Fox in it. I'm okay with this, I think.
What's funny is I didn't always care for Megan Fox and her acting, and I realized it's just the roles that she ended up getting put in.
Typecast as
she got typecasted because Jonah Hex. Oh my God, that just turned.
Jonah Hex was just a bad movie.
That movie was terrible in a lot of ways.
Jonah Hex was just terrible.
And then in Turtles, she was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She was okay in, but Jennifer's Body, when I first watched it, I had watched those other films. So when I saw her in Jennifer's Body the first time I watched it, I'm like, okay. I revisited it for a podcast years later, and suddenly I'm like, I really enjoy it. I like this film a lot better than I first watched it. And I think it was because of the other projects she had. It was kind of influencing me, unfortunately, subconsciously. So, I think it's just the role that she ends up getting, put in. I'm interested to seeing it. I didn't even realize it was coming out. When I saw that, I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it, because Jennifer's Body has grown on me, and now I really appreciate that film. I think
because I enjoyed Jennifer's Body because it was something. It was me, because when I saw that she was in it, I said, oh man, there's no one of these pictures Jennifer is going to star in here. But when I watched it, I said, wow, this is actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was because unfortunately, when you have movie studios and they have Megan Fox in it, let's have a whole bunch of young adolescent teenage boys and men go see it because they want to see Megan Fox naked.
Well,
That's
we can blame Michael Bay for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the audition? Wash my
definitely.
car.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
some
to
pretty gratuitous scenes there in Transformers.
All of them. Even when she wasn't in it, when they get to the other one where he has a different girlfriend, and you get to walk up in the girl in a nightie, and you're shot up, and her, the rear end fills the screen. You're like, come on! As she's walking up the stairs, it's like, really.
Michael. Do we have to get this up? This up?
But are men really saying that? Are most men really saying that? Are most men going, yeah?
See, I'm that asshole sitting there going, I don't care about the tits and ass. I want a good Transformers movie, damn it.
Thank you. And we didn't get that till really Bumblebee. That's 15
Bumblebee,
minutes of freaking Bumblebee. I was in heaven going, this is all I asked for,
Yes.
Michael Bay.
Yeah. It's like 1987 movie, garbage, Bumblebee.
I tell you. All right, Marty, you have another question you want to ask Mark?
Has there ever been a time where you've done a review for a movie and then I suppose Jennifer's Body would be an example, but is there ever a time where you've done a review for a movie, even in the opposite, where you thought something was good, you went back, revisited, and goes, Jesus, I was totally off the mark with that one.
I'm not sure about that. I think there have been a couple films to where I think I was a little overly harsh on, and then I revisited them later, and I'm like, this one isn't as bad as I thought it was. Actually, we just had this conversation. It wasn't a horror film or anything, but for ages, I've hated Batman and Robin. Okay. I'm a big Burton. I'm a Burton Batman. So Batman Returns were like my jam. Batman, that's that milestone movie. You guys all have it, that just influenced you so much. You're like, yes, you love everything about this film. So I realized when we were watching them back to back, and I watched the original 1966 Batman film, which is just fun camp. I mean, shark repellent
Batman.
For crying out loud, right? So when we watched it for my podcast, I did a whole Bat month, and I watched them. I realized I don't hate Batman and Robin as much as I thought I did anymore, because it was fully trying to be the 1966 Batman.
Oh,
so
yeah, absolutely.
I can't fault it for that. But back when I first watched it, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting more Burton Batman. So you get this, you're like, oh. I realize I have more of a hatred for Batman Forever than I do.
I think Batman Forever is the worst Batman movie outright. I hate
His
Batman
entrance
Forever.
was good, but his was better.
There's nothing
That was
I like
the
in
cheesiest
Batman
scene I
Forever.
haven't seen.
I was on You Probably Agree podcast, and he's like, you want to come on and talk about Batman Forever? And I'm like, yes, because I'm like, this film, watching it again, I'm like, yes, this is the one I actually have hate for. So to answer your question, yeah, Batman and Robin, I actually appreciate a bit more now. I don't have so much hatred because it's totally trying to be that 66 Batman again. Yeah, they did Bane wrong and everything, but that it goes all in. Forever's that in between going, let's do a little bit of Burton, but let's do a little bit of the 66 camp, and none of it works.
They didn't know what they wanted to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Tommy Lee Jones kind of getting jealous of Jim Carrey, and he's like, I'm gonna outshine you, and you're like, that's Two-Face. It's not the Riddler, it's not Joker, it's Two-Face.
I know. I'm like, why is Two-Face like Joker?
Why is he Joker? Exactly.
Why is he mugging?
Yeah.
Why won't he stop mugging? Please stop.
And why is the Riddler every Jim Carrey character he's played up until this point in his career?
I know. Right?
But Kiss from a Rose, guys. It gave us Kiss from a Rose.
But it did give us Kiss from a Rose. So there is
Kiss from a Rose.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
Yeah, I just could not understand Batman Forever, because it to me was like, okay, well, it's still dark, but then I didn't like Tommy Lee Jones's Two Faces. I didn't like Jim Carrey's Riddler. It was like, this is not working for me. And then, of course, then we have Batman and Robin, and it's not I never really hated the film. it was just like, oh, this Richard Donner, he's just trying too much to be like 1966 Batman. I don't want, if I want that, I'll watch that.
Because Adam West kid, and in all honesty, you watch the 66 Batman, even with the camp of Adam West, the rogues gallery that they have in the Batman movie is actually pretty impressive. I've always liked the villains from the 66 Batman series with the actors they got, and you watch them all together in that film. That's why you watch that film. Yeah, you get to laugh at Batman, but freaking Burgess Meredith and Caesar, you get them all together in the same room and they just feed off each other in that 66 Batman. You got to appreciate that the villains they assembled. It's like they did it right. I mean, it's campy, it's cheesy, but they did it right.
Yeah. That's one of the. I did like that movie because you have all the villains there, and they all do a good job.
Yeah. So I mean, that long-winded question, but yeah, Batman and Robin is one that I hated on a lot more before, and then revisiting, I'm like, yeah, okay, I like that. You know, it grew on me. I'm still not my favorite. I still like the other ones, but I'll watch that before Batman Forever.
It's the car. Chicks dig the car.
Or that extra, the bit where Batman comes through the skylight and there's a dude with glasses behind Nicole Kidman going, Batman! What the fuck?
Or let's not forget the ultimate product placement, whether it's the M in the background on Gotham City Street or him go, I'll get drive-through. What the
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I get passionate about films. Sorry. I think the shortest review I ever did was for the Vacation film was the shortest review I ever did. I will not watch that film ever again. Oh yeah. Yeah, I said a disparaging word in that film, and that was the extent of my review. It was like 10 seconds long. I was
man. It was that bad?
It was, for me, it was that bad. I watched it and I hated every minute of it.
You talk about the remake Vacation?
The remake Vacation. Well,
it's Rusty. It's Ed Haynes or it's from The Office is Rusty.
It's a requel, as my buddy would call it, a requel where it's a reboot and a sequel, but they're actually kind of rebooting it, but they don't want to call it a reboot, so they're kind of doing the same movie, but with his kids. So it's a sequel, but it's basically the same story, but it was so mean-spirited, it missed the entire point of the original films. And by the end of it, I was just so angry, and I feel bad. I actually feel bad for doing the review I did, but I will not go back and revisit it in order to do a better review. I'm just like, no, I one word review. Well, it was 2 words, but that was it. It's just, it was just one of those films that just triggered. I just like, no.
Like, no. In the original Monty, the Griswolds they done silly shit, but they were likable. In this, the entire family is just detestable. There's not one likable character in the entire family.
Yeah, the one thing because that's the one thing I loved about the Vacation films, because despite all the crazy dumb crap that Chevy Chase and his family did, they were still likable characters. But once I heard that they were remaking Vacation, which I wasn't surprised because that's what Hollywood does now, but I had no interest in seeing it. I mean, even watching the trailer, it's like, okay, no thank you.
The problem part of the problem I had with it was the same thing with the Poltergeist remake. Sorry to bring it up, but the Poltergeist remake,
oh my god,
it was mean-spirited towards the original. If you're going to do a remake, fine, a reboot, okay, I get it, but try not to be so mean-spirited to the original. In the Poltergeist movie, they have a joke going, well, it's not built on an Indian burial ground. And I'm like, screw you guys.
Yeah.
It's a movie that everybody loves. It's like universally loved. The first movie.
Right. And so with the original Vacation, it's like, yes, the Griswolds were maybe a little clueless and they were fun and goofy, but they weren't so clueless to swim in a pool of raw sewage with needles and stuff and think it was okay. You know what I mean? I mean, they weren't that clueless. It's like they took everything, and then there was a joke in there that they borrowed from the original, but it's in the trailer where they're doing the red car where she's flirting with him, only she then gets hit with a semi. And I'm like, you missed the total point of that entire gimmick in the film, and now you're just spitting on it. You know what I mean? And some horror remakes do that too. Think about Texas Chainsaw. Okay, never mind the fact we have a shirt of the victim of the chainsaw that never moves, even though it's wide open. Never mind that, but they touted that film as, oh, we're revisiting the original family, the sort, we're gonna go back to the farm, and we all saw it. And I don't know how you guys felt about Chainsaw 3D, but for me, I was just like, this makes no sense.
Do your thing.
Where would the rest of the family hide? I mean, what was it? You had the father, you had the hitchhiker, and you had Leatherface, and maybe the father. And then there's an entire bunch of fucking line dancers in the back fucking room.
Do you think, cuz?
And the thing is,
go have possible.
What a waste you get. I got excited because, you had Bill Moseley coming in to play Drayton Sawyer. I was like, that's cool, man.
Yeah, right. That is the best part of that movie. And he had the first 5 minutes.
He's like in like this much, and yeah, they built that up to how they were trying to pull us in. Us fans, TCM is one of my favorite horror films. They're like pulling you. I'm like, okay, I want to see what they do. I'll give you a chance. And then I saw what they had. I'm like, when did the family show? I'm like, yeah. This is supposed to be the next day, and suddenly you've got your entire family reunion back. Who are these people? And you're like, oh, look, Bill Moseley. And then he's gone. And you're like, oh, well. Okay, and then you get what you got for the rest of the film: CGI guts and.
Do your thing, cuz. Do your thing.
They turned Leatherface into the T-Rex from the end of Jurassic Park. He's like, hey,
Oh man.
Yeah, and I paid money for that.
I'm sorry,
for that, buddy. Yeah.
Oh man, I feel your pain. But I got one for you because my thing when it comes to remakes. But what is your theory when it comes to horror remakes?
If you bring something new or give it a bit of a modern spin, I'm more accepting to it rather than trying to completely throw back to the original. It's like, if you're going to do a remake, bring something new to it. Like, My Bloody Valentine remake. I enjoyed the My Bloody Valentine remake. I thought it was all right. I thought it was better than I expected it to be, and I watched it going, okay. I think the best remake for me, in all honesty, was The Crazies. Outside of the last 5 minutes of that film, I loved it because it was still a similar story. They still gave ode to the original movie, but at the same time, it was a different perspective. It was a completely different, story. I enjoyed that. I even enjoyed the Child's Play remake because they brought something different. At least they weren't trying to do the same. They took the concept, gave it kind of a modern spin. That's why I'm excited about the Candyman remake. In all honesty, looking at where they're taking that, if you're going to do a remake, fine, or a reboot, bring something original. Quit trying to just copy the original. We got that original. Give me something new. Give me a reason for caring and a reason for you to make this rather than just the money grab or the license renewal. Give me something, a different concept. I know some people, diehard Child's Play fans, didn't like it. I thought it was appropriate. I thought it was appropriate, and I enjoyed it because this is for a modern, younger audience. It's not for old farts like me anymore. Horror films, as much as we want to admit it, are a young person's demographic. So to, quit putting it on me, make a modern horror film. I may not care for it too much, but I know my kids will enjoy it a lot more than, say, trying to be the same old thing. Give me a different spin on it.
I enjoyed it and I'm not the hardcore hardcore Chucky guy, so I could get into it,
Right.
with a fresh.
Get off of my lawn!
I
hate
sorry,
it.
Jen.
I
Sorry,
hate
Jen.
it.
No,
it was okay.
I thought it was cool they went from supernatural to sci-fi.
Right.
They completely changed the horror kind of genre it was. I thought that was
Plus,
clever.
it's something that's relevant. It's artificial intelligence. It's relevant today.
Not
Tony.
my child's play.
I
Not
just-
my child.
I just wish they would have
Alexis.
given. I just wish they would have given a better explanation than flipping the doll to evil.
Well, yeah.
Well, there's your problem.
Yeah.
There's a switch.
I-
Flip it to evil.
I did like the ode, since it was Orion Pictures coming back. I did like the ode to RoboCop, though. So,
Yeah.
the little nod to that, and I get people don't like it, and that's fine because you still have the original. I think if that's one thing that gets me about you began this in the beginning with what is the one pet peeve? One of the peeves I have for some people is this ruined such and such. It's like, okay, unless it went on your shelf and completely changed the DVD of the original film, you still have the original film and you can enjoy it. Go for it. And I used to be that way. Don't get me wrong. I used to say that, oh, man, this ruined this film for me. But I'm like, no, it's still on my shelf. I could still watch the one that I really like. And this one I didn't like, I'll just never watch again. And I'll watch this, and I think that's what some people miss is when they give these, oh, this just ruined the franchise or ruined what. I'm like, just go back to your shelf and watch it, or your streaming channel and watch the one you love, and just don't watch this then. If especially it's going to be a modern spin and it's not going to be yours. If you watch it and don't like it, you still got your original that you like.
Yeah, no, because it's just like with me. As much as I enjoy the remake of The Fly, David Cronenberg's The Fly, and how good Jeff Goldblum was, I still prefer the original.
Right.
I know. It's just because I saw that first, and I cannot get over that final scene. With the Fly saying, "Help me."
I mean, the films aren't. I think Hollywood has kind of done it on purpose, especially with their superhero films, where they've given this kind of impression like a movie should be made for everybody. Yeah. And not every film is going to be for everybody. I mean, us as horror fans, especially, not every horror film's made for every horror fan. There's the niches, there's the, and so I think if people can kind of let go a little bit and realize that this film may not be for you, it's okay. You don't like it, that's fine. It wasn't meant for you. So you don't like it, that's fine. It was, I went to see Bad Moms with my wife, and I found the first one kind of funny. She found it hilarious. All the ladies in the audience found it hilarious. I thought it was okay, but I'm not the demographic for Bad Moms, the comedy. And I think that's what we have to understand. If you're going to go in, you could review a film as a film, but when you get into, well, that film ruined it, the whole franchise for me, I'm like, really? You weren't the one for it this time. You could still watch your original though. That hasn't gone away, so, you could be upset, sure, but at the same time, realize that you still have what you love, just don't give the money to the remake then. But they know us horror fans are going to put our butts in the seat to go see a horror film, even if we know. We're like, oh, Halloween 85. Hell yeah. You're like, this is going to suck. It's going to suck. Here, I'll take this and a large popcorn and a soda. Man, this is going to bite. And you sit, and then you come out going, man, that sucked. And they don't care because they're like, oh, thank you. Thank you for your money.
Thank you.
See, I feel like I want to say I would never do that, but I'm also that guy who is weirdly excited to go into Black Christmas remake and all those, like, this is gonna be terrible and I can't wait.
I actually think we like to torture ourselves, even though we know a movie, whether it's a remake or a horror movie that we've seen before, and we know it's probably going to suck, but we want to torture ourselves, but we go see it anyway just to see if it's going to be just as bad, so that way we can just talk bad about it.
Pet Cemetery.
or surprise you. Or surprise you sometimes. You might go in going, man, this isn't going to be how are they going to do that? And then you come out going, wow, that was actually decent. You know, maybe not
Yeah.
phenomenal, but it's like I'm surprised. And that's why I think we as horror fans watch so many zombie and slasher films and other films. We know the formula, but occasionally you run across it. And that's the thing, is once you get that one film that you're like, wow, that surprised me, you're going to watch more to see if you can find another one that surprises you.
Yeah, because I just told Jen today, because I just saw it on Bloody Disgusting, that they're actually working on a prequel for Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean,
And Jen screamed no.
well, it was so fucking well. God damn it.
I'm just waiting for my sequel to Maximum Overdrive. That's all I'm waiting for.
Hell
Yes.
Maximum Overdrive. I don't care how cocaine fueled that film is. I love that movie. I have watched that movie, I think, more than almost any other horror film. I love Maximum Overdrive. Yes, I know
Mark, you know you're going to have to put a more modern Marvel villain on the front of the fucking truck this time. It's gonna have to be,
With Thanos
it's gonna have
on
to be
the
fucking, I don't know, Loki or something.
Put Thanos
Truck with
and not
Loki's
Green
head
Goblin.
we'll put Thanos' head on there, but it will make it like blue, so you won't know that it's actually, you know. Everybody will know. We won't call it that though. It'll be something different, you know.
Christian, have you thought of your question yet?
This isn't a super great one, but if you could say, what are like 3 movies that you can just say that are essential for everyone to see, no matter what the genre or what the person's preference is? Like you just see someone like, I've never seen blank movie, and you just like, we're gonna sit down and watch it right the hell now.
Psycho is one of them.
Good choice.
Psycho is one of them because Psycho would be one. Actually, this is going to be a surprise. Clue from the mid 80s, the comedy Clue. If you want a clinic
Good
on
movie.
how you want to do comedic timing with just dialogue and characters, watch Clue. It's
My favorite comedy.
Thank you. I love that film. And it's funny because I've had some friends to where I say, have you seen Clue? And they're like, no. We're sitting down and watching Clue, and we sit down and watch Clue like I did with my one friend. He's like, how have I not watched this film until now?
Yeah.
I still don't know how Tim Curry memorized all those lines.
There's so much dialogue in with those characters. It had to be so easy to direct. Actually, the director said, okay, you guys know your parts, just go. And they just play off each other with that comedic talent they had in that film. So, those 2 films. And I don't know, a third one would be tough for me to say, but, Rope. Watch Rope.
Oh, good choice.
Great choice.
Very underappreciated Hitchcock.
I know I went with 2 Alfred Hitchcock films, but I watched Rope.
There's a reason for it.
If you look at what they did with Rope and you realize what equipment they had at the time to do Rope and to pull off what they did, you're like, wow. I mean, that film, and it's underappreciated. You're absolutely right. I think it's a solid film. I think it's one of his better films that doesn't get talked about enough. You know, everybody talks about the one take films like Burt. I'm like, check out Rope. They did that with a freaking big ass film camera. And editing. You didn't have like, where they did in was it 1917 or whatever, the World War I, which was the one take. They didn't have guys where they could take it off of a crane, run with it, and then put it back on a crane somewhere else. No, they got this big freaking film camera they're trying to do a one take film with. And Rope, I'd say those 3 films, really, if you look at those, you can see a lot of modern films, not just horror films, but filmmakers in general, what they've borrowed from those movies.
Excellent choices.
Yeah, very good choices.
All right, the last questions we'll pick your brain with, Mark. Basically, what do you see in the future for the horror, modern horror right now, as far as modern horror is concerned? Because despite what the pandemic has come, we actually had some decent horror films come out last year and some coming out this year. And the 3 we went over with, I thought those are pretty good. But what do you see as far as the future of horror?
I think in order for horror to survive, it needs to really stop falling back on retro stuff. And I think the future of horror is really going to be your indie cinema. In all
Me
honesty,
too.
we've started seeing it creep through in wide release, even though some people don't care for it. You're seeing like The Dead Don't Die. I know a lot of people didn't care for it because of the type of humor it is, but still, I think you're going to see more indie horror film become blown up. One, because of streaming. Everybody's discovering streaming. I mean, you're all horror fans, and let's face it, suddenly everybody's discovering some of these indie horror movies that were direct to video that we've been talking about forever, that they're like, oh, this is actually a great film. We're like, yeah, man, we've been watching these for years. But people were trapped at home looking for something new to watch, and suddenly they're discovering all these video on demand horror films. And I think indie horror is going to grow because Hollywood horror keeps churning out and falling back on the same franchises, and that demographic is just getting older and the younger ones aren't going to necessarily want that anymore. They want something that they can relate to, you know. I enjoyed it. Okay, there's a movie called #Horror, I think it was called, that came out. I thought it was okay, but I appreciated it a lot more because you could tell it was a horror film trying to talk to the young demographic, which has always been the horror staple, the teenagers and the preteens and the young early 20-somethings. That film covered stuff for them. It was topics that you see them talk about, you know, because I have kids, so I know what they're talking about. So it's like, that's where I think horror is going, it's going to start abandoning more of the retro stuff. And I think it's really going to try to hit more modern topics. In order to survive, it almost has to, you know, and I'd like to see that, because even if I might not care for it, I know it's something my 19 and 21-year-old are going to love, you know. It's one of those, I thought it was okay, but there's some horror films, modern ones, where I've watched to go, that was okay. They're like, wow, that was great. You know, it hit with them. So I think horror needs to get away from the throwback. We've done it. It's like been done.
Like Fear Street, 1994, 1978, summer of 84.
I can't speak to those, but I mean, you know, it was just like when Grindhouse came out. Look at how many Grindhouse replicas came out after Grindhouse came in. I mean, from the poster to the type, we're getting, you know, Mr. Grovelly voice and everything. And most of those were mediocre at best. You know, it's like, horror, I think I see it going towards more modern stuff and kind of abandoning the retro. And I'm fine with that, you know, because I've got plenty of old horror to watch.
Yeah, so do I. Well, we're going to go on ahead and close this out. But before we go, obviously, I'm going to do something that Mark does. We get to shrill about what your upcoming projects are coming up with. So go ahead, Marty. What's going on your channel?
Well, I'm hoping, I was planning on doing it this week, doing a stream with a couple of ladies discussing the progression of horror, women in horror in the past 40 years. And I also want to do a review of the shittiest fucking Irish martial arts movie called Fatal Deviation. If you get a chance, check it out. It's on YouTube. It's an absolute scour.
That movie's amazingly terrible.
Which movie is this?
Fatal Deviation. Basically, there's a stuntman for Jean-Claude Van Damme, Irish guy. Big, looks like his fucking head is made out of ham. He's he decided to make an action movie in Ireland in the early 2000s, and it's absolute scour. So I gotta review that.
That sounds like a fun one.
I'm gonna check that out. I put that on my list.
That's a great terrible film.
All right, Jen and Christian, what's up? What's going up on your channel?
Oh God, so much. We've got a Fear Street review coming up.
Fear Street review for the first part comes out tomorrow.
Shark Week. We're going to be late.
Even though we're already a couple days into it, we're going to do Shark Week, talking about all the classic shark films like
Grizzly 2.
Like Grizzly 2, Lake Placid, The Car 2, Anaconda, all the classic shark films, really. We're going to be talking about all of those.
While in the shark suit.
Yeah, and then we're going to probably just be doing some catch up on the stuff that we missed while I was gone. So, yeah. And possibly a live stream or two.
Sean, what's going on your channel?
Well, I'm doing this live stream with a couple friends called the Morbid Hour with the Hellhound and Horror Fan 88, where we talk about horror and heavy metal.
Ooh, nice.
Okay,
Nice.
all
Very
right.
cool.
Okay. And Mark, what's going on for you?
Well, tomorrow will be the live stream of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 for our podcast.
My boy.
If you miss it, it'll be on the podcast channel. But that's part of our series we've called Cannon Fodder. All year, every month.
That is a great name.
Every month we've covered a different Cannon film and sometimes more than one Cannon film. And I got a chance to interview the author of the Cannon Film Guide Volume 1, Austin Trunick.
Nice.
I got to talk to him, and that was a lot of fun. So we've got that going on. I've got a review of a horror film called Lilith, which I just recently watched. I've got a couple other reviews coming up as well. Unboxing. It's Vinylly Mine episode. I do a lot of shows on it, but yeah, all of that's coming up this week. But definitely the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 for your horror fans out there. We'll be live streaming it tomorrow, and then we put the final edited version on the podcast channel at the end of the week. So
okay, yeah, like I said, I watched The Nest over the weekend, so I have that review coming up. Probably going to rank all the Purge films after I saw the Forever Purge, so that'll be coming up. And of course, obviously, this weekend will be the third part of the Fear Street.
Fear Street,
Fear Street 1666. So that's why I have coming up on my channel right now. So thank you very much, guys, horror fans. Thank you very much for participating, and we'll hope to see you. And we'll see you again next month. Mark, thanks for dropping by. You were lots of fun, a lot of information.
Awesome guest.
Great guest.
Awesome guest.
It's an honor to be amongst all of you. It was a lot of fun. Thank you very much for having me. Always a pleasure.
All right, everyone. And always remember that horror rules, and stay tuned and stay scared, everyone. Good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.